Hiya guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another Retro RPG. The end of another week, the end of another poll. We've got an astoundingly big win for Alliance Intelligence Reports for the Star Wars role-playing game. Now I'll cover this on the desktop in a wee second, and as usual I'll be back at the end of the video with some other channel related stuff and some other poll related stuff. But before I do that, I'd like to take a moment to talk about my Patreons, who this week I've been told know that that's no moon. Now these are wonderful, wonderful people who make all of this possible, so I'd like to thank them from the absolute bottom of my heart. Their efforts are so much appreciated. Now if you'd like to join them and help support the channel, or you'd like to see some Patreon exclusives we put up on Patreon, or you'd like to see these videos a week early, or one of the other levels of patronage we've got, then there's Patreons in the description down below. If you check it out, it'd be very much appreciated. But anyway, let's have a look at Alliance Intelligence Reports. So, this is Alliance Intelligence Reports. It's for the Star Wars role-playing game, came out from West End Games in 1995. And it's one of their sort of compilation books. Whereas a lot of their books would cover like a single novel, or a single subject like an equipment book, this is a book of reports like Kraken's Threat Dossier and so many others. This time it's on Alliance Intelligence Reports on basically bad guys, on villains. And it's formatted by the group. Now I much preferred the West End Games books where they would group everything together. So if you're looking for a character, it'd be in the characters section, equipment in the equipment section, starships in the starship section. Whereas this is by whichever group they're allied with. So you'll find stats for starships mixed in with equipment, mixed in with characters, in no particular order, just as it goes through, because this character has a starship, so we'll give you the stats of his starship. It's not the best laid out book, because I do like books where I can lift them and just grab the stats for a starship or whatever. But in this one, you're going to have to search for what you want. It is kind of handy because the characters have everything grouped together. You know, if a character uses a custom weapon, it'll be right next to him. If he is of a brand new race, then that's going to be laid out next to him. It's going to give you all the information in one place. So it's handy if you're going to use what's in here, but it's not that handy if you're just dipping into it for single things. Anyway, let's have a look at the back of the cover. Alliance Intelligence Reports. Slavers, bounty hunters, political radicals. You don't have to wear an Imperial uniform to be a threat. Anyone or anything that hinders the fight for freedom is an enemy of the Rebel Alliance, the task force on Alliance security. Heroes are only good as the villains they fight. This collection of villains details some of the Alliance's most dangerous foes, providing a perfect selection of enemies for any Rebel team. Each entry has background information and game statistics, including numerous new droids, vehicles, and aliens for use in any Star Wars role-playing adventure. So, delving into the book, we can see that the publishing quality is the same as most of the West End Games books. The artwork is kind of cartoony in style, but I think well suited to action. Maybe that's because I was brought up on science fiction comics and things, but I really, really like this style. I feel it suits Star Wars a lot. And I have to say, this guy reminds me a lot of Lee Van Cleef. But anyway, carrying on through, it's very readable, laid out very well. We've got an introduction. The task force on Alliance security, going through different people who are in it. A lot of names here are recognisable, so Aaron Kraken, Bryn Derlin, we've got Crix Medine, who else? Carlist Rican, and I believe there's another one. Yeah, Lax Sivrak, the Shistavanian from the Cantina in the original New Hope, apparently now works for Alliance Intelligence. I'm guessing that's something West End Games added to it. Van Willard, I believe he was one of the background characters in the Rebel base in A New Hope as well. But it goes through. So, Securidex reports. These are going to be the information reports on the basic villains. We've got an in-universe datapad here, giving us background information. And then we're straight onto the Brosin Underground, a paramilitary force that wages a guerrilla war against the Corporate Sector Authority on the planet Brosi. So, the Corporate Sector Authority is the corporate zone, where the Empire allowed the corporations to have a control of part of the galaxy to run as their own. But they pay a lot of taxes to have that freedom. But they use a lot of Clone Wars era technology. So They are like the Empire Light. That's, I think, probably the best way of describing them. They're horrible, but they don't have the latest in death equipment. So, we've got background information on them. We've got characters from the Brosen Underground. Now, a typical Brosen Underground guerrilla. Then Randall Clance. We've got his stat block for the rules. We've got Brosy itself. A nice map of it. Some illustrations looking absolutely great. Including the Staplerint. These riding beasts, I'm guessing. Adventure hooks. And typical Espo officers to use against them. We've got GOS, the Galactic Outdoor Survival School, where they basically train up scouts and people in skills to survive in the wilderness. And the Empire sends some people to be trained here, but so do the Rebellion. So we've got Barossa Warren. They're modified shuttles, which are Lambda-class shuttles, or Mu-class, because they don't have the upper wing. They've got a large sensor suite. We've got information about different characters. His stat block. His specialized weapon, his conglomerate .48 caliber Enforcer pistol. The Cannibal, his unique freighter. A word on GOS Twilight class. Creature there. No, it's a planet, sorry. Thrantin. Some of the terrains on Thrantin. Lots of NPCs. Not much to say on those. The Grants Confederacy, an organization Alliance Intelligence believes has only been formed in recent months, consists of 8 highly motivated individuals and extremely dangerous. All 8 members have a history of employment with underworld organizations. So we've got Calandri, who is an assassin, and we've got her stat block there. A custom vehicle here, the Jedi Q6100, ground vehicle, speed of scale. Again, not much to say. These are interesting enough, you know, if you want information on an obese male who's a bounty hunter and not just the standard ones out of the book. Some nice stats in there. But there's nothing particularly special. An Eotran Braceman in there as well. Corestian Hunter. The Water Spire, his Mon Calamari light freighter, which we've got pictured over here with some very odd looking Star Destroyers. We go through. Rhodian Bounty Hunter. Someone's got a Coenser Sigma class shuttle with some adventure ideas. Hydrosphere Corporation. Now this is an interesting one because it's basically building some background into the Dark Empire series. This is the corporation that works on aquatic planets and makes aquatic equipment. And in Dark Empire there were the aquatic AT-ATs, the AT-AT swimmer, and another one which was on a hydrofoil, I believe. So I really like the fact that they're kind of fleshing out some background here. We've got Dr. Harris, who's the administrator, I believe. An engineer by trade with his stats. Marosa Thurn, an Alliance lieutenant. The stat blocks, an Explorer submergible, the Wave Skimmer prototype. This is the aquatic AT-AT, and we've got a very nice picture of them in docks here. On sort of hydrofoils with the body. I much preferred the aquatic AT-AT swimmer that they created themselves, which was an AT-AT, but instead of legs it had sort of fan drives to propel it underwater. Much preferred that. I thought it would be a better way of handling, but this is kind of cool. I came up with something similar in the early days of my website with a speeder bike on hydrofoils. And we've got the Aqua Speeder, which is a modified T-47 airspeeder, so the airspeeders out of Empire Strikes Back. The snow speeders, but this is an aquatic adjusted one. The Yelforak Order, a Continental Army, So, stats for the characters in that. A kill technician there. A Morning Star, a specialised weapon as pictured above. ATPT walkers, ESPO walkers. C-73 trackers, starfighters, Z-95 hunters. Headhunters, sorry, Toscan 8Qs. Now the Toscan 8Qs, this one, I always found it kind of odd that it's a Toscan design when the cockpit is absolutely identical to the Y-Wing. I would have thought therefore it had been a co-insert. But nope, we've got the ESPO Walker there, an ATPT, just the different arrangement of legs. This makes it look far more aggressive, but this one looks more Robocop maybe. Very nice starfighters. This is the kind of stuff that I absolutely loved, them fleshing out the Star Wars universe with different starfighters, etc. The Maitar Slaving Council, so some slavers, stats for those, including a R2K7, an astromech droid, their Mandalorian dungeon ship that they use, and the stats are around here somewhere, along with a stun baton and a neuronic whip for capturing people. Oh, there's their ship. Mandalorian dungeon ship, the Vanquisher. Very blocky ships. I think they were introduced in Dark Empire as well. Pluvo's protocol team, back to the corporate sector. Pluvo 2-for-1 was included in the Han Solo and the corporate sector books. So these are the hirelings of a gangster, much like Jabba the Hutt. And this is where I have to question some of the stats, because they are quite high. This is the one I particularly noticed. Hunter 1, an assassin droid. So he's got dexterity of 5D, very, very high. Blaster skill of 8D, with his light repeating blaster 8D plus 2. So incredibly, incredibly dangerous in combat. He's rolling a lot of dice there. But coming to it, he's got strength of 5 dice, and then he's got armor plating, which gives him plus 2D to all areas, which is way above anything. Now, Stormtrooper armor gives you plus 2 against physical, plus 1 against energy. So his armor plating is far better than Stormtrooper armor. It's up there, it's perhaps even better than Bounty Hunter armor. And with his 5D strength, that comes out as 7 dice to resist damage. So you're rolling 5 dice to damage him mainly with blaster rifles and things like that, and he's rolling 7 dice to resist it. To put that in scale, a Scout Walker has 3 dice hull and gains in the 2nd edition revised and expanded rules 4 dice for being a Walker scale vehicle. So he's rolling 7 dice. This droid is as tough as a Scout Walker. Now, Scout Walkers don't have the best reputation from Return of the Jedi, but they are supposed to be large armoured military vehicles. And this is just a droid. He's got lots of different weapons in there, none of them particularly damaging. His light repeating blaster's 5D plus 2, so he could shoot himself virtually all day and never hurt himself. Anyway, we've got a supervisor droid here who's part of the team as well. I'm not even going to try and pronounce those names. A couple of bounty hunters. We go through those. I do like the designs of them. They do look very alien. And we do have the races in here. So this one, a Shatras assassin. And we've got the stats for the species there. Enhanced vision, bite, neck flexibility. Species loyalty. They're loyal to one another regarding matters regarding non-Shatras. Nice stuff. The Venethon twins. We've got their stats. Now, these are Ithorians, which made me think of the twins out of the Knights of the Old Republic series of comics, which I covered on my website fairly recently. They were a couple of Ithorian brother bounty hunters. So I'm wondering if they got any idea for that comic, which was published a decade after this, from these two. Except those two were very, very blundering. And these seem fairly reasonable. They've got some decent skills, not massive. 4 dice for their blaster. Carrying an ordinary blaster pistol. Nice ship they've got there. A background story for the two of them. And their ship, which is a Gatroc Industries Class 580 freighter. Not bad at all. Zillyrian Swordmasters. A bunch of different races who are expert in the blade. Going through those as well. I do like the sort of dragon-like creature. I'm sure that's out of Star Wars somewhere else, but I can't think exactly where. So we've got a Moskoth there. And we've got a Togorian Mastersmith with his Togorian scimitars that he creates. A Whipped Swords being. A Karen warrior. The Karen race. And a human. And that seems to be fairly rare for this book. And then we've got a bunch of individual cases. So we've got Professor Kalobata, Dr. Klino Alaras, a Ketan Spy Derrida, and the Ketan race themselves. Nice that they've got all these races in there. As I said, I'd have much preferred if they'd had a chapter where all the races were. It'd be far easier for you to just have those and let your players play them, because they've got the attribute dice there and everything for you to create NPCs or for players to play them. I quite like the fangs on these one, where they're hollow fangs, usually designed for extracting water from succulent plants, but they can be used in combat. Because they're basically tasting you when they bite you, they don't really like it. Jundland Banshee, a Tuscan Raider. High Inquisitor Max Slozin, so a High Inquisitor. Before the Inquisition was really detailed out too much. But it's nice to have him. He's no force powers, which makes him very different from Inquisitors these days. And he does fly this modified Mercury Drives Trenchant class cruiser, the Iron Hand, which to me looks a lot like a Imperial Customs frigate, which is in the 2nd edition revised and expanded rulebook. But we're seeing it from the side, so it's possibly very, very different. And then we've got this guy who's responsible for the design of armoured suits. And we can see him in what looks like very much like Space Marine powered armour with a blaster cannon on the arm. And we've got his prototype incomplete armour here with the stats on it. Some other characters. Viskander, Villarnissen. Oh, that's his race, which is a very weak race, only having 8 attribute dice instead of the ordinary 12. So even a character would be way behind. They've been very, very weak indeed. Janssens, Hodin, what else we got here? A Vanguard Pathfinder belonging to that last character, a nice, very slim ship. And then at the back, we've got Indiana Jones and the Lands of Adventure for Masterboat system. And that's it. Now, there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. I don't like the format, as I've said a couple of times, but I can't doubt that there's a load in here which you'd find very, very useful if you want to dig through it. Some great stuff in there. Love the races, love the starships. Just don't love the way that they've hidden them away amongst everything else. So that was Alliance Intelligence Reports, and that won the poll this week with an absolutely astounding 46% of the vote. Way ahead of everything else. Now, I love me some Star Wars, but that level of support's making me think that I'm going to have to work my way through my shelf of Star Wars stuff if it's going to be so popular. But anyway, in second place was World Book 17, Warlords of Russia for Rifts, which came around 23%, and in joint final place was the Stargazer Tribe book for Werewolf the Apocalypse and Infantry Weapons of the World for Twilight 2000, both of which came on 15%. So, nothing was really that unpopular, it was just that Star Wars was so popular. Now, as usual, they're all wiped out at the poll, and we're going into a Retro Adventures poll. But before I start, I'd like you to comment down below and let me know. I'm thinking about starting to run these ones less frequently. Retro RPGs is where I started, and I've still got so much on my shelves to cover, in source books, role-playing games, etc. Also, when I've been asking for suggestions from viewers, I've been given so many. And obviously I can only do one per poll, which wins. So I've got this massive backlog, and my heart kind of feels that I should be doing those. But the adventures are quite cool. It's nice having a look into how a game actually goes. So let me know if you think I should cut these down to maybe 1 in every 3, or maybe even 1 in every 4. So only doing 1 adventure book per month, and the other 3 weeks doing retro RPGs. Make a comment down below and let me know. But anyway, we're on to a Retro Adventures poll. And first up, we've got the Aitean Menace for the Doctor Who role-playing game from Fazza, and it came out in 1985. Now, we've covered a whole load of Fazza stuff from that period. It was the period of the Star Trek role-playing game and moving on to Shadowrun at the end of the decade. And there's some fantastic stuff in there. But I have never covered anything for Doctor Who except the box set itself. So it'd be fascinating to have a look at that. I'll maybe even start slipping in some of the source books, because I seem to remember there was a fantastic one on the Daleks. After that, we've got the Utati Asphet, the Eye of Wicked Sight for Call of Cthulhu. Came out from Chaosium in 1996. Now, this is a nice, big, chunky adventure. It's one of the things I love about Call of Cthulhu is I know if I'm running Cthulhu and I'm picking up one of those books, I've got enough adventure to keep me going for lots and lots of sessions. Just recently, for example, I've been working my way through the compilation of adventures, Tales from the Forlorn Hope for Cyberpunk. And each one of those is only going to be maybe one, maybe maybe 2-3 sessions at most. They're not really going to last that long. I have to actually slow things down so they're not just a single session game. There's not much to those, but if I pick up a Call of Cthulhu book, I know there's 150, maybe 200 pages of adventure there, and I'm going to be knowing what I'm doing for weeks and weeks to come. So I love these books, and it's a Cthulhu Now adventure. So a period I really like. I've covered so many of these before and loved every single one. After that, we've got Infected for Earthdawn. Came out from Fazza in 1994. And Earthdawn's a game I absolutely love. It's not covered enough. People have kind of forgotten about it over the years, but it's the fantasy version of Shadowrun, set before magic disappears, and then Shadowrun is when the magic reappears. A fantastic game, and I would love to cover that. I don't really know much about this adventure. I think I played it, but I would need to read through it to be reminded of that. And finally, we've got Hot Rods of the Gods for Ghostbusters from West End Games in 1986. Now, I've covered all the other Ghostbusters First Edition adventures. There was Ghostbusters, and then there was Ghostbusters International, which came out. And GBI was an updated version of the game and had a bunch of adventures, but the original only had the Games Master screen with its adventure and then 2 other standalone adventures, and we've covered everything else. So it'd be wonderful to actually have covered everything for a role-playing game, especially one as good as Ghostbusters. So we shall see if that wins. What else have I been up to? Well, over on DrivethruRPG, I've been releasing some character classes. Now, I've been doing dimensional travelers of different types, because as I've said in past, I'm writing this campaign setting, which is all about people ending up in a certain dimensional place for a reason. I'm not revealing too much. I don't want to really reveal anything about it. And I thought, as well as people from different times and different settings turning up, so people from Cyberpunk, fantasy, etc., all turning up in one place and working together, I would also include some dimensional travelers, people who are used to traveling through dimensions and have some control of it and would end up here as well, just as trapped as everybody else. So I've been releasing those. I've got some fresh ideas and I'll be keeping releasing stuff. If you're interested in those, there's a link down below to the DrivethruRPG. If you check that out, it would be much appreciated. Or if you're interested in absolutely everything, then if you become a patron of Librarian or Laird status, I've got a shared Google Drive where you can get access to absolutely everything I've written, which is 650 odd booklets now. There's a massive amount there for you to download if you're interested. And over on RPGgamer.org, well, I've started working through Legacy. Now, this is a comic book series which came out in the late 2000s, alongside the Knights of the Old Republic comic, which I've covered recently and absolutely loved looking back at. I've got the collections for both of them on my shelf, so I thought I'd be enjoying this one as much. But it's set 150 years after the movies, and I'm not actually enjoying it that much. It seems a bit cluttered and confused, but I'm going through every issue and reviewing it and then statting them out. So if you're interested in the Star Wars D6 system, go over to rpggamer.org, check it out, comment on anything I put up, and we will refine mistakes and make perfect versions of these stats. Anyway, as usual, I think I've been whittering on for quite long enough, so thank you very much for watching. As always, most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.